What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video, and today I want to break down what's happening with the overall markets. I'm going to break down some very important things involving Donald Trump and his tariffs, what's happening with all these different charts, and why we're seeing some important figures saying that Donald Trump may back down on the tariffs and just use them for negotiations. So I'm going to break down everything about the tariffs and etc. in this video and talk about Donald Trump's speech that's coming up very soon. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposits $2,000, you're guaranteed 30, not to mention 8.1% APY in uninvested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about the markets. So today was a very, very crazy day. We saw the market get a very, very big rug pull. When we opened, we saw SPY dump all the way down to about 572 a share. And then I released a video and I mentioned that between 572 and 560, I was expecting some kind of bounce move. As a result, we did see this bounce to about 585. That's about a 13-point bounce before SPY came right back down. And then we closed a little bit in the red. However, during the after hours, we're seeing SPY running again alongside the markets. So it's pretty crazy volatility, a big dump, a bounce, a dump, now another bounce is coming. So it's very, very crazy. The whole market basically followed the trend where we got this much bigger dump in the morning. Then we bounced as the day went on. We got another rug pull towards the end of the day. And now we're trying to push. Despite that, the majority of stocks closed in the red, looking at finance, almost the entire finance sector dumped. Retail dumped, so did health technology in most of these sectors like consumer non-durables and etc. We just saw some stocks such as like Nvda and Google in the green, but the majority of stocks were in the red. So what's going on? Donald Trump has imposed more tariffs starting today at 12:01 a.m. We basically are going to be starting to collect 25% tariffs on nearly all goods from Mexico and Canada, and that also includes about a 10% tariff on Canadian energy. So just keep that in mind. That is some very, very important news. Now, with this happening, okay, Donald Trump is arguing that he's doing this for justice, he's doing this for fairness, and he is blaming a lot of problems in the US. You guys could read this right over here about what's going on right now. I don't want to go over every single specific detail. I just want to let you guys know that this is what's going on. And then Donald Trump is also talking about the trade deficits and such, and he believes that this is going to be bringing in more money for the U.S. to cause a lot more justice. But the thing about this is that the tariffs also have some consequences, such as the fact that lots of these countries want to retaliate. So, for example, we're seeing Canada doing the same thing. So, we just had Justin Trudeau come out, and he is saying that Canada now wants to impose 25% tariffs on the US on about $107 billion worth of American goods. And then that's going to be including about $20.7 billion on goods, including like orange juice, peanut butter, wines, and etc. Those have already been imposed. And then there's another $86.3 billion worth of goods that are going to be tariffed as well in the future in the next 21 days, according to Trudeau. So keep that in mind, guys. That's what's going on right now. There's this big trade war, and this is what caused a lot of volatility in the markets. Also, keep in mind, Donald Trump also increased tariffs by an additional 10% on China. So that's what led to a lot of fears. Now, I also want to add that today we have another big catalyst affecting the markets, and it's going to be Donald Trump. All eyes are going to be on him today because he's giving a speech in front of Congress today at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be in about 3 hours from now. The big guy is going to be speaking in front of Congress. It's going to be at the U.S. House Chamber, and this may cause a very, very big move in the markets. So we'll have to see what he ends up saying. Does he announce more tariffs? Does he say something else? We'll just have to see. So far, he's very much in favor of tariffs, and I just want to make that very clear. It may affect the way this market ends up moving. For now, during the after hours, the market is trying to push approaching his speech, so we'll see if he pushes the market up or down. Make sure you guys are prepared just to be safe. Now, I did see something else very interesting that just came out. We have something very big right here. We have the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. He is saying that Donald Trump may actually make a compromise with Canada and Mexico tomorrow, the day after these tariffs have been imposed. He's saying that there might be a very, very important compromise, and that he's thinking that they may work something out and that the tariffs may not actually be imposed quite yet. It's just a negotiation tactic. That's what he's saying. We don't know for sure if that's going to happen, but that is what the U.S. Commerce Secretary is saying that these tariffs are just for negotiation. They're going to be making a very, very big deal, and something very, very different could be coming, and the tariffs may not be imposed like that. So, it's crazy, guys. It's absolute madness. We're seeing one person saying they want to increase tariffs. Somebody else is saying that it might be completely different. It's just all over the place. For now, I just want to be very, very unbiased and just let you guys know that you have to watch your key levels and your technicals. You have to be following price action to be very patient with this. We're just waiting to see how this pans out. Will the tariffs officially be imposed and held this way for many months to come? Or is this just another negotiation tactic? And could things change with another deal tomorrow? That's what some people are saying, that Donald Trump is just trying to negotiate. We'll see about that. But one thing worth mentioning is that with these tariffs being imposed, right, there's going to be another big change right here, because the importers have to pay more prices, at least to send things to the US in order for them to do business here. But then the US consumer will have to pay for that, so you have to keep that in mind. And Donald Trump knows this. He also recognizes that there are massive trade deficits. There's about a $171 billion trade deficit between the US and Mexico, according to many sources. And that's some very important news, because Donald Trump is saying he wants to offset this with tariffs. The trade deficit between the US and Canada is about $63 billion. He also wants to offset that. And then there's other things going on. He has other reasons for why he believes this is right. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. This is just your choice to decide. I just want to talk about how this is affecting things. When it comes to Canada, they are exporting a lot of goods to the US, including minerals, lots of petroleum, machinery, aluminum products. And then we also have lots of foods, plastics, and then we also have like charcoal and things like that. So just keep that in mind. We also depend on them for like lumber and then some car parts. So Canada is very important, at least for all of that. And then simultaneously, when it comes to Mexico, they export lots of machinery, lots of electrical machinery, cars, automaker products, and then lots of food, such as like fruits and vegetables, oils, and etc. All go to the U.S. You have to remember one thing though, and that is that out of all their exports, about 75 to 78% of them for Canada and Mexico actually go to the US, and the rest just go to other countries around the world. So they depend a lot on the US for trade. The US does not depend as much on them, at least individually, right? Only like 15% of our trade goes to like Canada, and then the other part's going to be like 15% for Mexico. So that's why Donald Trump is trying to use the power and the leverage the US has for negotiations or to try to get different things out there. So that's what Donald Trump's intention is. So we'll see what he's trying to do. Will these tariffs be just held at these rates for many months to come? Or is Donald Trump going to try to negotiate again? And will there be some big news that comes out tomorrow that tells us that the tariffs are going to be on a temporary delay again? But it all depends, guys. It's very, very tricky. So that's the reason why I'm warning you to be very careful in a market like this. And I would recommend just paying attention to the news. I'll give you guys an update if there is anything that comes out. On top of all of this, okay, it's just two main things. Number one, what does Donald Trump end up saying? What does he end up giving us about his speech? And also the tariffs for tomorrow. Will there be a big deal with Canada and Mexico? Will he delay them? We'll have to wait and see on that. That's the first main factor affecting the stock market. Number two is this data right over here. Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. Keep in mind that at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Composite and Services PMI reports. Then at 10 o'clock a.m., we have the ISM Services PMI, business activity, employment, and new orders also coming out. This is major data that may shake the markets. Will we see a rug pull? Will we see a bounce? It depends on the data. For earnings, we just got Target and Best Buy. Earnings were okay for those. Tomorrow we have Foot Locker and a few more, but nothing else that's too crazy. And then lastly, the market still has a lot of fear. We're still at extreme fear as we're approaching some big supports. This is the first time in over a year we're seeing the S&P 500 losing the 125 daily moving average. That's a big drop that's come so far. The put to call option ratio is very elevated, still going up, and volatility is still up as the VIX is climbing. So for now, there's a lot of fear and lots of volatility within this market. So the question now remains, what's going to happen from this point on? I'm going to talk about the charts and some key levels for the rest of this video. So as far as SPY is going, it's very simple. You guys can see that when we zoom out of the chart like this, we have this blue trend line, which was a resistance, which is now going to be acting as our support. So this is where SPY bounced today, very close to this trend line, which is near the low 570s. And then let me just make it very clear. We have a very strong support between 568 and then also at 572. And the reason for that is because when you look at the daily charts, Our 200 EMA is at 569. We also have previous support around 568. So that 568 to 569 range is a very, very big support right here. So I think that that is going to be very big for SPY. And then simultaneously, the low of the day is also another support. So that 572 to 568 range is very key for SPY. If we hold this, we should be looking for a bounce off of that. If we lose this, it's going to be it's going to require a big catalyst to really dump this. There has to be another big piece of news. So far, we're not getting that additional catalyst. So I do think there's a good chance we try to hold this. But it also depends on what Donald Trump says. And then if we're bullish on SPY, I want to see it break the high of the day, that 585 area. If that breaks, I think we easily go up to 588, then eventually the 590s. So keep that in mind. One thing that's good is we have a bullish divergence on SPY and we're trying to hold this support. But one thing I suspect is that we're not done with this volatility. I think we're going to see a lot of volatility first, and we'll see if we get a bounce later. This bullish divergence does suggest a bounce could be coming, a little pivot, but that depends, guys. So if we get some kind of push like this, we'll see if we get another move down. If we could hold this low, there's a good chance we try to see a rebound. Then we could be slowly trying to inch our way back to 590. There's a good chance that that is what could be happening, but that depends on what Donald Trump says and also the data for tomorrow. I'm anticipating that is the most likely possibility nonetheless, though. Now, watch that 568 to 572 area as our main support zone. If we do see a little push upon open, we could dip a bit, get one more liquidity grab, whether it's way down here or above. And then there could be a bounce coming to try to get back up to 590 because we dumped so hard. We had 6 out of the last 7 days were just red. I think it's now 7 out of the last 8 days were just red on SPY almost. So lots and lots of red days, almost no green. I think we are due for that little rebound move. That is at least what technicals do suggest. This is going to depend on what Donald Trump says, so just keep that in mind. Whatever Mr. Trump says during his speech is going to be very big, and whatever the data looks like tomorrow will affect us. But I do anticipate we're going to see some kind of like a push upon open, maybe like some kind of dip move again, just like what we saw today. And hopefully if we can make a higher low, this could try to base between 568 to 572 as our bottom, and then this will see a temporary bounce to about 590. That's what I'm anticipating for now. On the QQQ, there's also a slight bullish divergence. I also want to note that we got a decent close. We're trying to hold up quite nicely right here. We're going to be watching this tomorrow. We're at a very, very big level. So historically, we do love this like 495 zone. There's a lot of liquidity over here. There's also this previous resistance becoming support at 490, which is where we bounced from. So that's a good support so far on the QQQ. If we close below 490, it's going to be quite bearish. But if we could try to hold that, it's going to be a good sign. There could be a small push coming, maybe another dip move, just like this, that could be coming for tomorrow. It also depends on Donald Trump, his speech, whatever news comes out with the economic data. So there could be another dip move. And then if we can make a higher low, if we can make a higher low compared to this low right here, if we don't dip all the way down below like 490, then we could be looking for a bounce move back up towards the 510 area. There's a good chance we try this just temporarily. Of course, it depends on Trump and these other factors, but I do want to note that there is a possibility that our U.S. Commerce Secretary is correct and that Donald Trump might actually put the tariffs on hold again. I can't promise that, but if that happens, whoops, that's going to be a very, very good catalyst if that ends up being the case. So just keep that in mind, guys. That's going to be very, very important for us. So we'll see how it goes. Anyways, moving forward, we have the Russell 2000. This is attempting some kind of rebound move right here. I want to mention that we have this giant head and shoulders, right? There's a left shoulder right here, a head, and then a right shoulder. And as of right now, we've been on a downtrend thanks to this. But there is a very strong support near that 200 area. We came very close to that. So we'll see if there's one more downwards move, if we could hold support upon that push. So I think what's going to happen is this. We're going to be testing this resistance. We could push a little bit higher like this, and we'll see if we make a dip. Now, I want to see if we could hold 200. If we can make like a higher low, then we could be looking for a rebound towards this imbalance back up towards the 212 area. So just like that, there could be some kind of move like this coming. If we can make a higher low, that depends on what Donald Trump says, but there's a good chance that technicals suggest that. What else is very good is that when you look at ES, look at this pattern, right? We had this channel. We're trading sideways between this range, and we broke out of it. We traded sideways in this range. Now we're going to see if we bounce. One thing worth mentioning is that we have this resistance right here becoming support, and we're doing a great job at holding this up. So watch this lower trend line to see if that ends up being our main support. We're trying to hold above it, which is a good sign. There might be another kind of like wick that forms like this, and if we could try to hold this yellow trend line here, we're holding support so far. This could attempt a rebound back up to 5,900, right? Why do I say that? Well, look at the trend line. We're still holding support on ES, believe it or not. We're actually in the green right now. So my point is we're holding support. We're getting these dips, but then we keep getting bought back up. That's a good chance that this could start balancing because of that. We have not lost critical support yet, and we haven't lost like around that 57.50 area to start dumping. We're still holding support, so this could see a small dip then a bounce. That is a strong possibility depending on what Donald Trump says. Also on NQ, this blue line right here was previous resistance. Now it's going to be our support. And notice that we bounced very close to this on NQ. We need to see this get back above 20,697 to bounce. As of right now, it's not really there yet. It might hit this trend line. We'll see if we get some kind of dip move. But then if we get that bounce, this does resemble like an inverse head and shoulders. And it depends on the blue trend line. Can we hold the blue trend line and bounce? If we lose this, we could turn a lot more bearish, start dumping to the lower 19,000s. But for now, we're holding support, so we're looking a little bit more promising. So far, I think we're doing a good job at holding support, and we'll see if that ends up being the case. But overall, like I said, it's doing a good job in my personal opinion. For many more tickers, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin saw bits of a dip. We're making like a higher low here. We'll have to see if we could try to do the same thing again. So if this could be making a higher low, this could attempt a reversal structure, especially because we're forming a base. I do anticipate a dip move, but it depends. Can we hold 80,000 or not? If this holds, we could see an attempt to go a little higher for this imbalance, back up to about 90,000. So we'll see just to be safe. What is looking resilient is Nvda. Nvidia dumped quite a bit, but it was forming a nice. I think there was a divergence. Actually, it's not that clean. I think there's a slight divergence, but it's not that strong. However, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's trying to push. As long as we don't lose 115, there's a good chance that because we're holding 117, we're going to try to get back up to about 121. Overall, I think we're doing a fantastic job. On Tesla, we've been on a bit of a downtrend. We're watching this yellow trend line acting as support. So we're holding up. We're actually holding support. We're even trying to push into after hours right now. That's a good sign. It all depends on what Donald Trump says tomorrow. So if we try to push like this, we'll be watching to see if we get a liquidity grab right near the low 275 to 270 area. Then we'll see if we bounce back up towards 290. There could be a small rebound on Tesla because when you zoom out, we're still holding this yellow trend line. I did adjust it a little bit, but you guys can see that's kind of like acting as our support. So if this trend line holds, there's a good chance that Tesla could attempt to go a little higher. I think we're doing a good job so far, especially because we're forming a bullish divergence. So we'll see. Depending on what Donald Trump says, we could be pushing for like 282, see a small dip, and if we can make a higher low, then this could be bouncing for 290 just temporarily for a small push up again with the broader markets. If we end up losing 262 to 260, though, we could be dipping to fill the gap at 250. So it all depends on how well we hold up. So far, there's a slight bullish divergence. This suggests I might try to go a little higher first before we fill the gap to 250 later on. For Apple, we're in a critical place right now. Notice this yellow trend line is our support. We bounced off this 1, 2. This is like the third time we're testing it. So we need to see a bounce here. We need to see this thing try to break from this level. If we end up losing 235, we could be dumping more. If we hold this, we're looking for a rebound for 240. I see potential in this chart, so just keep that in mind, but we'll see if that ends up holding or not. Overall, it's doing a good job. But the rest of these tickers, I'm going to be kind of quick. Notice that Netflix is range bound. Our main support is 955, and our resistance is going to be at 980 and 991. We're going back and forth for now, but there's going to be a nice attempt to get back up to 990 plus. So we're holding up quite nicely. On MSTR, we have an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. If we could break past 282, we're looking for a bounce for 302. For Celsius, we were on a bit of a downtrend, forming a slight divergence. So this could be attempting to get back up to 27.62. For Supermicro, we're looking for some sideways price action here, but I do see an attempt to get back up to about 42 likely coming. Palantir looks like it wants to push a little bit. This is actually showing some resilience. If we break 87.5, we're looking for an attempt for 90. For Rivian, we have a bullish divergence double bottom. We're looking for essentially 11.7. SoFi is on a bit of a downtrend, but I want to see this try to push back up to 13.9. Overall, there's a slight bullish divergence. It's showing some life. I think we could be trying to retest 13.9. Might push, get another dip to retest like the low 13s before it tries to bounce again, but it's showing some life. AMD looks a little bouncy. The 4 hours looking decent. As long as we hold above 101.5, we could be slowly inching our way up back to 105. ARM, it's on a bit of a downtrend, but I want to see this get back to about 127.8. There's a good chance we do attempt when we're pushed to that imbalance. Coin is looking a bit more bullish. We have a nice base here. We also formed a bullish divergence. So typically, when you just ignore these lines, look at this. We have like a double bottom, and this could attempt to get back up to about the low 220s. So 220 and 225 could be coming. Amazon's trying to rebound, getting very close to about 209. So there's a good chance it tries to go a bit higher. Meta is trying to rebound as well, just a little bit. That depends on how well we hold up. I think it might see a test of 657. We'll see if you reject off that or not. It's still technically on a downtrend, but there could be a temporary bounce to about 657 on this chart. Microsoft is trying to push for essentially 393. If we could break that, 400 is coming next. We'll see if 393 breaks. It's showing some life. Google looks a little bit bullish. If we hold above 173, we're also looking for an attempt to get up to about 176 and 178. Google is kind of flat here, forming a double bottom. We could be looking for 24.7 or above. AMC is looking a bit more bullish. We have an imbalance to fill towards 13 points or 3 points too, excuse me. GJT might slowly push up for 23.8, so watch that closely. The VIX, it's kind of in the middle here. We have this bearish candlestick, but we haven't lost support at 21.15. If we lose that tomorrow, one of those days, then yes, I could be looking for more downside. I'm not seeing that quite yet. The 10-year is kind of flat here. It's going to be affected by other pieces of data. There's a head and shoulders here, but not much of a move yet. And the dollar is looking a bit more bearish, which tends to be a good sign for the markets. But in this case, it's just moving because of the tariffs. So my view is quite simple, okay? I think that whether we get a bounce or not depends on Donald Trump's speech tomorrow and our economic data. But I do notice that if the market does get some kind of dip move tomorrow morning, can we make a higher low compared to this low here? If we could do that, then there could be a bounce coming. It's a very, very nice possibility. It depends, though, on how well we could base between 572 and 568 in that range. 2 points above or below 570. Can we hold that range? If we do, I'm looking for some kind of rebound. If not, it's not going to be a good sign. I am a little bit more hopeful because we already dumped so hard without much of a bounce. If you guys look at like the daily time frame, we've been just dumping and dumping and dumping. We're very close to the daily 200 EMA, which is a big support. There have been many times where we touched this and we weren't able to break through this in the past. So we're approaching a big support already. We're not that far away from it. I would like to see us hold between that support and the low of the day. As long as that holds, we could see some kind of rebound attempt. With that being said, I thank you all so much for your attentions. Please have an awesome, rest of your day. And I'll be back once again with another upload tomorrow morning. With that being said, thanks again. Get ready for Donald Trump's speech very soon. That's going to be affecting the markets, not to mention other factors. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening and peace out.